All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Ruach HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me the truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you I say shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Back again with another lesson. This was going to be entitled America Will Cease to Be a Great Power. Okay. And when we're seeing right now the fall of the Edomite hegemony, right? We're seeing the this great empire, you know, coming to its last and final days, you know, months, weeks, right? Ultimately we don't know the exact day when this place is gonna fall, but we're seeing the signs, right? We see what the Lord is doing to this place. And we know, according to prophecy, that certain things had to take place before our Lord Yahweh Shai returns, right? We can read Matthew 24, right? Um, when you're reading Second Ezra's, the ninth chapter, it talks about how you got to measure the times diligently within themselves, right? Within themselves. So you got to um, pretty much correlate prophecy. First of all, you got to have the understanding of prophecy, and that's first and foremost comes through the Holy Spirit. But we understand you got to have men teach you this, right? And the men that have the true understanding of the scriptures, whom the Most High is dealing with, and the Holy Spirit is dealing with, are the apostles, elders, and bishops of Great Millstone, right? Who taught me this truth. And what we see is the message is being spread, the true message, the 100% truth is being spread through them, right? But again, you know prophecy is the understanding of prophecy is required in order to be able to correlate what is going on the earth, right? This is the reason why we tap into the news, right? We keep our eyes open on what is going on geopolitically, right? On a whole worldwide scale, you see. And then we measure that out where we are according to prophecy. Of course, we have a couple more prophecies that had to come to pass before the inevitable end of this place. But we seeing the signs, right? We seeing how this place is going down, right? As a matter of fact, I want to start off with Second Ezra's 15, right? Going into the curses or the plagues, I should say, that will hit Egypt. So this is Second Ezra 15, and I think it's 10. Well, I'm gonna start at 10. It's actually 11, but it says, "Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt." Now, this is talking about spiritual Egypt, pursuant to Second Ezra's, the 11th chapter, right? And I believe is the 8th verse. But it says, verse 11, "But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before." Right? Because when you read in the book of Exodus, all the plagues that hit Egypt, right, which were pretty much designed to confound the gods, that the idols, that the Egyptians worshipped, were the same thing the Most High is doing here, right? Especially, with the monetary system. Everybody relies, and really sees money as the end all be all, right? But the Most High is going to confound this place by completely dismantling the economic system that's here in America, right? And I got an article I want to bring out, just to add to that. But let me finish this out. It says, "And smite Egypt with plagues as before," right? Because there's going to be a multitude of plagues, with what Klaus Schwab called polycrises, right? Which is just a multitude of crises, you know, um, at once, all at once, right? You're going to be having famine. You're going to be having uh, um, cyber attacks. You're going to be having um, shortages on food. You're going to be having blackouts, fuel problems, all kinds of stuff, man. It's going to be happening, right? Not to mention, um, different natural disasters and shit. But it says, and will smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten. Right? Egypt shall mourn. Everybody here in America is going to be in a state of mourning. Everybody is mourning right now, right? Seeing that Esau is in power. But when these plagues really start hitting, yeah, people are really going to start mourning. The scriptures talk about how men is going to be as women, right? Men are going to be, in a state of not knowing what to do, you know, not knowing what's going to happen, how to take care of the families, how to take care of themselves. I'm telling you, it's going to get that bad. But it says, verse 12, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. Right? So the Most High is bringing this punishment, right? And it's all rightfully so for all the wickedness and the abominations and the blasphemy that is being pushed throughout this system, throughout this society, right? So this place has to go. All right. Now, what did I say I was gonna get? Oh yeah. Let me go ahead and read this article real quick. All right. This is from Fortune.com. I'm not really gonna read too much into this. I just want to. Yeah, that's the reason why, because it's telling me to subscribe. It's always these damn paywalls. But anyway, let me read this title real quick. It says, when interest on national debt overtook military spending, it triggered a limit where the U.S. may cease to be a great power, warns Hoover historian. Right, so I'm going to read it again. It says, when interest on national debt overtook military spending, it triggered a limit where the U.S. may cease to be a great power. You see? Because that's ultimately what's happening, man. The Most High is removing America from being the great power, right? And one of the major things was it being the head of finance, the head of wealth, right? Because all wealth and all uh, um yeah, pretty much all wealth was pretty much centralized here in America, to where you have the dollar being the world, um what's it called, the world reserve currency, right? Now let me see. And it's all due to the debt, the debt that Esau has amassed here, right? To where now the debt, or at least the interest on the debt, is like up to $1 trillion a year, something crazy like that. But let me see. Let's get this. Let's get Habakkuk 2 and verse 6. Because once the economy goes, and that's it, man. That is it. There ain't gonna be no more people out here trying to chase the bag, because there ain't gonna be no bag to get, right? All these people that are in this prideful state because they got money, all that shit is gonna go out the window, right? So this is Habakkuk 2 and verse 5. It says, yea, also, because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, right? But hold on, that ain't it. Oh, it's verse 6, but I'll just continue reading, right? It says, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So because of his greed, he has pretty much thrown everything out of balance, right? The earth, the resources, right? To where here it is, he's amassing and piling all these things onto himself, but leaving scraps into the people, right? But even then, enough is never enough for this man, This is the reason why he wants to eliminate the population. When you look at, the TED talk that, what's his name had, um, Bill Gates, and then some of these other talking points that they have at the World Economic Forum, there's always the population that has to be cut down, right? Not the consumption, not, saying how much we're mining, not, the overproduction of things. No, it's about reducing the amount of people that's on the planet. That's what they deem as to be the solution to, you know, the problems that's occurring. But not no but they're not taking accountability to the fact that they're the ones that the earth is in this type of crisis situation, right? It's the rulers, right? But this is Habakkuk 2 and 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself in thick clay. Right? Everything that he got, he got it through rape, robbery, and murder. And even then, right? Everything that he has gotten through usury, right? To the point where his system, the system that he created, is based off of usury, right? And now he has amassed this, this bubble of debt that soon is about to burst, man. And that's going to affect everybody that's currently in the system, which is a world, which is a global system. So everybody around the world is gonna feel this hit once the economy over here, in America crashes, which it will crash, right? But again, that's going to be a global event, because that's essentially what they want. They want to reset. They want a global reset. They want to bring in the new system, which is a digital system, which is going to be used via a digital ID, which eventually will be which will eventually introduce the MOTB, right? Which the MOTB is already out there, but they're going to mandate it. They're going to be able to mandate the MOTB through this new system that they have in mind, right? But let me see. Let me talk. Let's go into this, because again, the crashing of the stock market, the crashing of this economy is going to happen. Let's get Zephaniah. And again, like I said, this is all part of the plagues, right? This is all part of the plagues that the Most High is bringing upon Egypt. Zephaniah 1 and 10. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second, and the great crashing from the hills. Right? It says, how ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. You see, and when you look at the history of those that lived in Maktesh, they were mainly all merchant people. It was a place of money changers. A place where you know pretty much people would like almost like Wall Street, you could say, right? And again, that crashing is talking about the economy. I have another one too. Talks about how's it go? Um, the keepers of the house. Bear with me, right here. Ecclesiastes 12 and 3. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened, right? Because the keepers of the house, again, go into these economists. And what we're seeing is that these economists, they've been anticipating this crash for a long time. The debt that America is in is not going to sustain them for much longer, man. Right? They're going to have to cause a crash and bring in that reset, right? But again, when you go into that article, right, it says when interest on national debt overtook military spending, right? So the military spending, I mean, the interest on the national debt that we have, which is I don't even know how much now, it continues to go up. But now the military spending, I mean, the interest is more than the military spending, right? It says it triggered a limit where the U.S. may cease to be a great power, right? So the U.S. is limited, right? America is wearing itself thin, just like the Roman Empire did, right? They're devaluing the dollar, just like the Roman Empire did. They devalue the denarius by mixing in certain metals. America does it through overprinting this fiat currency, right? Which it devalues the dollar. Your purchasing power is less, right? But again, this is creating this big bubble, which eventually is going to burst, right? And it's going to be a bad, bad day whenever that happens, man, because it's going to affect everybody, right? Um, Let me see. Let's get this. I don't want to make this too long. I just wanted to bring that out real quick. But this is Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10 and verse 8, it says, because of injuries, so like because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another, right? So all this, the reason why America is in a state of circling the drain, right? Or all these plagues is hitting this place is all ultimately because of the way America has conducted itself, right? The way these Edomites had set up America, man, through rape, robbery, murder, the enslavement of the Israelites, right? The torture, the massacre, the genocide that happened here in the soils of America, right? Everything was built off the backs of the Israelites. You blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, well, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? And now look what they're doing now, right? It ain't nothing but wickedness piled up on top of wickedness, which is really a bunch of iniquity just being, piled up, man. So the Most High is seeing all this, and now's the time. Now that the Most High is raising up His men, having us testify against this place, call out the wickedness. Right now, we're seeing the fall of this place. Right, that vibration of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, of the kingdom of heaven, is being magnified. So this place is being uprooted just by us speaking words, just like the wall of Jericho. Right. But let me read this back. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So the kingdom is being translated over unto us, right? And it's a process that has to happen, right? When you read the prophecies, it goes into what will happen, right? All these plagues going to hit America. Jacob's trouble is going to have to happen, right? The MOTB, Esau coming down with great wrath, right? Yahweh Shai coming down and him, fighting against Esau's military, which they ain't gonna stand a chance. But that all this is gonna play out in this grand play, this grand act that the Most High is setting up, right? Right before we enter the kingdom of heaven. But let me close it off with this. Isaiah 14 and verse 4. It says that thou shalt take up, as a matter of fact, let me see. Verse I'm gonna start from the top. Right? Isaiah 14 and 1, it says, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. Right? So mercy is going to be shown upon us. It says, and set them in their own land, which is the land of Israel. Right? So all them gutter rats that are living over there, they're going to be shooed out. Really, they're going to be destroyed. Right? Israel is going to be nuked as well. But it says, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So those strangers being the Israelite foreigners, right? But it says, verse 2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in their land, or in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, right? So the nations, we're going to have them as property. We're going to own them, right? Scriptures talk about how we're going to have them as our inheritance, right? So they're going to be like possession unto us, right? But it says, "And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land, that in the land of the Lord, for servants and handmaids." So they're going to serve us. It says, "And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors." So the roles are going to be reversed in the kingdom of heaven. Right here it is. We're at the bottom, right? But soon we're about to be placed on top. The heathen, they're going to be at the bottom, right? They're going to be our footstool. But verse 3, it says, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. Right? So everything that we're going through now, all this is going to be as a dream, man. All this is going to be, long gone. You know what I'm saying? We ain't even going to remember this shit. Right? This is going to be like just a bad nightmare that we had one day. Right? Because what's this short captivity compared to eternity in the kingdom of heaven, right? But verse 4, it says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the kingdom of Babylon and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. You see? So we're bringing up this proverb, this place is going to go down. America is going to cease from being this great economic power, from being this great global dominant power, man. The hammer of the earth. The hammer of the earth is about to break, man. And we're not only saying this, like again, I mean, Forbes, right? Or Fortune, right? .com is saying this too, right? It's not only us that's saying this, everybody else is saying this as well, right? So this proverb is being magnified through everybody here on the planet Earth. Everybody is witnessing the fall of America, right? And if you can't see it, man, then nothing else really we can tell you, man. You just have to witness. You're just gonna have to experience it yourself, right? When Jacob trouble happens, right? All hell breaks loose. You start seeing chaos and evil start to magnify on your streets. Like I said, there's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna have to see it to believe it, right? But anyway, hey, that was pretty much it. That was all I had. America is about. I mean, this place is done, man. This place is over with, man. We didn't really got much longer here, and really call Allah Yahweh Bashim Shai, for allowing us to witness the fall of our enemies, right? Because we're here, man. We at the end. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha HaKodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm going to say Shalom, Kwame Yasha Allah.